Alrighty, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. Today is the fourth part of a 12-part InFocus webinar series, and today's discussion is going to be focused around construction. My name is Warwick Harvey. I am the construction account manager here at Modena, and my focus is on how to digitize the construction industry. I am joined by two of my colleagues. I'll let them introduce themselves shortly. A bit of housekeeping rules. There is a Q&A section. So as we're going through the webinar presentation today, please guys, just feel free to pop your questions in there. They are visible on my second screen, so I'll just stop what we're doing. We can go through the questions. We have got a technical team in the background, just in case there are any technical issues, and they will also be posting some links and more information in the chat. And as we're going through today's discussion and webinar, there might be one or two polls. So if you guys could please participate, it's just going to give us a little bit more information so we can, constantly add value to everyone that's joined and attending. And, we'll finish off today's session with a Q&A, and there will be a QR code. Please, guys, if you could kindly scan the QR code. I'll remind you again when we get there. It's just going to be comments on today's session. Maybe there will be some questions if there's something that you guys are not familiar with. We do really encourage participation there. I'll hand over to my colleagues and then we'll get started with the webinar.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Michelle, and like Warwick said, I'm a construction technology specialist here at Modena. So today we're going to be talking about chaos to clarity, and we're going to focus this on digitizing your construction site, mainly focusing on cloud integrated platforms such as ACC. But I'm going to leave Nyasha to just speak a bit more about that.
Hello, everyone. I'm also a construction technology specialist here at Modena, and today we are talking about chaos, the chaos we know. I mean, we've all been there on construction sites where pointing fingers happen, consultants butting heads over what information was shared. Contractors and consultants, we all know that chaos, especially because of the paper-based system that we have. We're trying to see how these tools that we have will be able to, overcome all of this chaos that we have on site.
Okay. Yeah. And I think just adding to that, it's important to know that we're constantly evolving, not just in the industry, but in people. And it's always something to know that you need to evolve with the times, just 100%. To always stay, prominent, especially in industry, this is a fast-paced industry, all companies want to stay prominent. And yeah, and it's also important to know that it's not just about using fancy tech. When we're talking about, evolving, it's also about digitizing your workflow, which is something that we concentrate on as construction technology specialists.
What's funny, it was about a year ago, but it will always stay with me. So I was chatting to a builder, and they were asked to adopt ACC on a project. Yeah. ACC was mandated, and he was pushing back. And my question to him was, so do you guys currently use emails? Do you guys currently use faxes? And he looked puzzled. He said, no, we use emails, of course. I said, well, why don't you use faxes? He said, well, no one uses a fax anymore. And I said, exactly. There's been a change, there's been adoption, there's been development with digital tools. Yeah. So why are we pushing back on Autodesk Construction Cloud? Yes, it is scary, it's unknown, there's change management that needs to happen. And there was a light bulb moment. And it wasn't about, him buying something that was ACC. For him, it was the realization that, yes, if he doesn't adopt, he's still going to be on faxes and he's not going to be able to communicate anymore. Yeah. And I thought it was actually such a really cool story. And I'll probably be talking about it for the next 10 years. But it's by far one of my favorite encounters where we had a light bulb moment of somebody understanding why they need to constantly adopt and change.
Yeah. And I think if you look at it, it begs the question, what is digital transformation in construction? And it's important to know here that the key word is digital. It's about digitizing your entire construction site and moving away from things like disjointed manual workflows into a fully integrated cloud system where everything lives together on one integrated platform. It makes it much more user-friendly and it's much more project efficient if you look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, when BIM integration tools like ACC, Autodesk Construction Cloud, when we use such tools, it gets very powerful. Yeah. You're looking at digital transformation, that means implementing the latest technologies within the built environment. from 3D modeling all the way to 4D scanning, and using cloud platforms, which is ACC, common data environments. By integrating these technologies, we are not just building faster, but also smarter. I mean, it's important. It's an important aspect of this shift is the moving away from traditional paper-based documentation.
So I just want to stop you quickly, if you don't mind.
No problem.
You mentioned BIM.
Yes.
So everyone should be familiar with what BIM is, but there might be some people on the webinar that aren't. So if you could quickly just explain what BIM is, just so that we're all on the same page.
All right. BIM, some would say BIM is building information modeling.
Okay.
Some would say management.
Okay.
On my side, I lean towards management.
Okay.
Why? Because we have, especially, I specialize on Autodesk Construction Cloud, which is a common data environment. And I think with the use of it with project managers, consultants, developer guys, it's transforming the construction industry.
I think also just to sum it down even more, I was at an Autodesk event yesterday.
Yeah.
And Richard, that works at Zatari, he described BIM as better information management. And I thought it was fantastic. It dumbs everything down so that everyone is able to understand.
Yeah.
BIM allows us to manage our information better.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can maybe take us through a little bit more and showcase.
Yeah. So it was interesting where Nyasha spoke about building information modeling and building information management. I think it's important for people to understand that modeling is just one part of your entire BIM process. So like Nyasha said, I would also prefer the term building information management or better information management. If you look at it, when we have our BIM life cycle, and why I like this graph so much is because it talks about a BIM life cycle management. Sorry. Okay. So if you look at it, you have your level 0, which is your CAD and scan drawings, and then we move to level 1. And level 1 is just your 2D and 3D drawings. Okay. So there's a lot of firms who think, yeah, we've integrated BIM, and for them, that's just 3D drawings. That's not what BIM is. BIM isn't Revit. And 100%. I constantly tell people that BIM is not Revit. Yeah, and then your level 2 is where you're integrating into BIM, where you're now using your 3D model to do things like collaborate and clash detection. Okay. And then you'd move to your level 3, which is your BLM, which is your building lifecycle management. And that's when you're using all of the tools that you have in BIM, like your your digital documentation and your digital twin, and you're using it to now manage this building over a span of years. So BIM doesn't just stop within the 5 years that it takes to build a building. It continues thereafter to constantly manage your building.
Brilliant. Yeah. So I'm going to quickly ask the technical team in the background. I'm going to ask them to look at creating a poll for us. I just want to understand for the viewers that are present, what level do you guys see yourselves at? There's no right or wrong answers, but it will be interesting for us to understand, are we at a level 0 or we're at a level 3? And then Nyasha, with your experience working on site, because you've taken companies from paper-based all the way to digital operation. Yeah. Your experience with working with consulting firms and construction companies and with property development companies, the average, do you see a lot of guys still at the level 0, or is everyone at a level 3?
So I think, well, with any introduction of any new technology, you find there's a pushback and stuff like that. So over the past year or so, 2 years or so, we've been onboarding actually successfully, onboarding a number of companies onto Autodesk Construction Cloud. And especially when dealing with property development companies, it brings about everyone else who's using, who's working with them, basically needs to onboard as well. And the amount of people that have onboarded the past year, I mean, it's amazing. And how they've run the projects. I mean, we have an example of some of the projects that we ran successfully that was recently completed, Sleeping Frog. With AppCon, yes. I think he did an interview with Shark on that one day. And I mean, he was basically just praising the platform and how it transformed construction as a whole.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's one of our really recent success stories where we've taken a company from paper-based to not fully digital. I don't think it's realistic to have a fully digital company, but a really good hybrid.
Yeah, I'd say we're still somewhat at level 2. Okay. Moving very quickly to level 3.
That's brilliant. Yeah. In yourself, have you got any experience with clients?
So I do have experience with clients. I can't exactly talk about
Non-disclosures.
But I can say very big clients who are using BIM, and with the way that they're using BIM, this particular client, from being such a big firm in the industry, it's making them even bigger. I think with the time that they were with Modena in particular, integrating their platform, when they were with Modena particularly, integrating their platforms into BIM, it became much bigger of a company, and we're actually looking at the company now, and we're watching the company grow using BIM.
Brilliant.
That particular company. But also just to talk about BIM in general on South Africa, I think a stat that we found, which I think is actually a very interesting stat, is that although we have so many companies in South Africa that use things like Revit and AutoCAD and stuff like that, the adoption rate of BIM in South Africa is actually below 50%.
Okay.
And if you look at all of our integration platforms, out of that 50%, 35% of those people do actually use ACC, but it's not being used to its full potential. And one of the great examples, and something that I found as a good case study for South Africa, is Cape Town's integration of BIM within the municipality. And I have over here just a roadmap.
Let's just quickly stop. I just want to quickly go through the stages of BIM. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm going to have to look in here. So we have a couple of responses. 12% are still at a level 1. We have 59%, exactly what you said, at a level 2.
Yeah.
We have some guys saying that at a level 3, and 12% we are on a level 4. So exactly hitting home, a lot of guys are making use of 3D tools, but they're not able, or they're not currently using that information to its full potential.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So I'm just going to quickly hide that. Thanks, guys, for the participation. I do see there are some hands up. Please, there is no way that we can audibly hear your comments, so please just pop it in the Q&A, and we'll gladly go through the questions. Okay. So you were talking about Cape Town's municipality.
Yeah, so it's actually interesting that we've got those stats before I actually went into this, because I have a few stats that the guys at the Cape Town municipality actually found on their side when they were looking at it. So the Cape Town municipality was looking at implementing BIM within their municipality. So all basically consultants that tender need to have a BIM background so that they can fully run these projects. But obviously before that's implemented, they did some research. So if you look at the screen, we have a roadmap where they started to implement it within 2024, and they're looking at a rollout plan where by 2028, they would be mostly, if not completely, adapted within the BIM environment. And some interesting stats that I found that...
We have a question here. Sorry. Okay, there seems to be issues with the audio. I'm just going to move the mic closer.
Sure.
Apologies for that, guys.
Sorry.
I'll just ask her to talk a little bit louder. I'll quickly sort out the microphone, and we should be good to go.
Okay, great. I hope everyone can hear me now. But just some stats on Cape Town and their implementation. So they actually found that 81% of firms within Cape Town actually aren't integrated within BIM and these integrated platforms like ACC. And out of that, below 81% that are actually using it, 12% are familiar with it, but 0% are actually experts within the platform.
So there's still a lot of work that we need to do.
Still a lot of work that needs to be done.
But you mentioned 2028, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because at yesterday's Autodesk event, the CIDB were present, and they were talking about their roadmap on the ISO 19650 standards.
Yeah.
So if you guys aren't aware, ISO 19650 has been adopted in South Africa. It's the SANS 19650. And the CIDB also have a roadmap where by 2028, it's going to be integrated into South Africa. To what level, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it seems to be matching up quite closely with Cape Town's plans, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, and Cape Town actually did a projection on what could actually happen if we get this, if we get the ball rolling, and their projection and roadmap occurs in the way that they have looked at it. And something that's interesting is that 35%, there'll be a 35% increase on basically the effectiveness, if I can say effectiveness, on document control and document coordination within the municipality and all of their consultants.
Awesome.
A 20% increase in transparency in the projects that's occurring, because remember, everything's now being digitized. It's easy to distribute this information to the public, easy for them to have access to it. And a 30% improvement in facilities management, which I think as South Africans, we can all agree that's something that we would need as a country to move forward. So those are quite interesting facts, and the numbers may be below 50%, but if you look at it in a bigger picture, they're quite large numbers.
But if you're looking at facilities management, and I need your buy-in here. So the life cycle of a construction site typically is what, 2 to 5 years? And I'm talking pre-design all the way to handover.
Yeah.
The life cycle of an actual building is what, 100 years?
Even smoke outside.
50 years, 100 years?
Yeah.
So there's a massive focus on digitization and digital tools to the construction sector. I'm talking architects, project managers, all into construction.
Yeah.
But they're a blimp in the asset's life cycle.
Yeah.
With your mention of facilities management, and we have from CapEx to OpEx, I do think that there's a huge opportunity for the information that BIM provides to hand over to facilities for them to better operate and manage their assets going forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big opportunity for everyone that's on the call to maybe consider and think about.
Yeah.
You know? So what we are trying to do is we're not just trying to digitize the construction life cycle and be done.
Yeah.
But taking the information from, you know, design inception all the way to construction completion, pushing that forward, you know, that facilities management is the biggest opportunity that I do see, you know, for a huge return on investment, especially if you're looking at owners.
Actually, so the example that we gave previously earlier about Living Frog, so we're looking into, like we're saying, we're still at level 2, but right now what we're actually working towards is having, so once we have all the projects done within ACC, all that information is going to be handed over to the facilities managers, and they're going to use the same information. That's when now you're starting to implement your digital twin. On projects that, if they are running these projects, you find make use of assets within ACC where you can document when assets, we're talking about, let's say escalators, you're talking about air conditioning units, all these little things that you have on site. You're talking about these things, how they're going to be managed, when they were installed, who installed the model numbers, QR codes. All of that is integrated within that common data environment. I mean, if everyone is to jump on and start using these tools, we will transform not just the construction industry, but even the property, basically the property industry.
Yeah.
And I think just quickly, I'm going to ask the technical team, if they haven't already, just to maybe put a link into the chat to our website for ACC. And while we're on that, if you could quickly just explain ACC, what is it?
So ACC, in just to
layman's terms.
Layman's terms, all right. We're talking about a common data environment.
Okay.
Where everyone is sharing information, coordinating. ACC comes with a number of platforms within it.
ACC is an ecosystem.
Yes, it's an ecosystem. That's actually a very good way of putting it. So you're looking at, you have design collaboration, model coordination, you've got docs, build, all of these tools, and you've got insights where you can get to see what's happening within the construction project. So just, I think the most used ones being docs and build. You're looking at docs being the hard drive of the entire thing.
That's where all your information lives.
Literally.
Okay.
Where everyone else accesses the information from, and then build, I think that's the best way of just explaining it. And then build is now during construction, you now get to have some workflows in place where you can do reviews, you can do transmittals within it, you can do these issues as well. There are a number of tools that to play around with within ACC that basically will drive efficiency during construction.
Okay. And we live in South Africa. Load shedding is a problem. We're doing quite a lot of work in rural communities, and everything digital sounds amazing, but, you know, load shedding happens, we have no power. What happens? We're in the middle of nowhere. You know, how are we, is it possible to use digital tools without access to internet?
So you're looking at, okay, ACC, it comes on various platforms. So most people will be using ACC on any browser that you have, so because it's internet-based, so it doesn't have a software that you have to get to install. You just use on any browser, jump on any computer, and you connect it. And if you are to go to remote areas where there isn't any internet connection, you could use your mobile device. It comes on iOS and Android.
Okay.
So what you do is it gives you an opportunity to sync the project onto your device, where all the important files that you need to access when you're on site, you get to download them, have them on site, and once you're that side, you still can perform all the tasks you want to do in real time.
Yeah.
But it will only definitely upload that information once you get back online.
Okay, so you can work offline.
And you also do have the Bold app. So off your Bold app, you can't access docs, but you can access Bold. And one of the ways that I like to describe it is that your ACC as a whole is your bridge between your office and your construction site. So when you use things like accessing ACC off any browser, or when you use things like accessing ACC off any browser, or actually using the Bold app, you're able to stay in the loop in real time. You're able to constantly stay connected to your construction site, which helps with things like staying within budget and time efficiency and stuff like that. So yeah.
Fantastic. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay.
No, actually, it brings us to, I think, our next topic, which is real-time digitization.
Oh, fantastic.
You're looking at, how great is it that whilst you're on site, you're walking around with a mobile device, and you are creating issues on site, basically just seeing what's wrong on site, be it a safety issue, be it a design issue. You get to real time, snap a picture, assign it to a specific someone who's supposed to handle that.
Okay, so there's a problem with this room, and I'm the responsible party. I need to fix the aircon.
All right, and I pick it up. I come through on site. I take a picture of that. Let's say it's the air conditioning unit. It's working properly, or be it a wrong window or whatever that is. I take a picture of it. I create an issue, assign it to you, and immediately once I'm done with that issue, you get a notification in real time that, okay, so-and-so needs to get fixed on site.
Brilliant.
And even to close out that issue, now you have your contractor who's able to go on site. They can take a picture themselves and say, hey, look, I fixed it. So you're not having to go walk through sites again to actually look that everything's fixed. The contractor takes a picture. And on that picture, you can also add things like location. You can either manually add your location, or you can link it to your Bold app, where it will automatically pick up your Google location and your GPS coordinates.
Okay.
And you're able to know, okay, this has now been fixed, and it's just you checking it on site. You're not walking through this entire site again, going through each and every problem to make sure that it's fixed. You have a picture in front of you.
But I'm the aircon guy, and I've made a mistake, and you've assigned something for me to fix, but I don't want anyone to know about it. How is it for me to delete it and keep that information hidden?
So the thing is, with ACC, it's transparency throughout.
Okay.
You're looking at, actually, that's one of the main things that I like about it. We don't get to be just pointing fingers on site, and people like doing that. So on ACC, you've got activities log, where the project admins, which typically will be the project managers and stuff, they get to see everything that's happening in the back end. You're looking at, let's say, if I assign an issue to you, for starters, you won't be able to close that issue until that stuff gets fixed. Only the person who created the issue.
Oh, so I'll send it back to you to say,
you just change the status of the issue to say either in progress,
waiting for approval.
Waiting for approval and stuff like that. And then if I'm satisfied with everything, I get to close the issue.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And also just with the transparency, there's transparency to a certain degree, because as a project admin, which is usually, like Neeraj said, your project managers and your clients, you can now decide who you want to be able to see what you want them to see. So as a project admin, yes, you have complete transparency, but not everyone on the project. So if it's a high security project for some reason, you can choose who you want to be able to see what.
Okay.
So if an issue comes up, you can also choose that I only want this specific consultant to be able to see these issues. So although that it is very transparent, it's important to note that with the transparency comes a lot of things that come in place where you can put in your security measures.
So we've actually got two questions from Gilbert here. So first question is, would this not remove the fun site element? And secondly, I personally enjoy going to sites to view and review work. So I come from industry, and it's fun. I love being on sites. I miss it daily. but we're not talking about removing yourself off site. Correct me if I'm wrong. I need you guys to jump in here. But what we are trying to look at is the way I used to work was emails, WhatsApps, I Telegram at a stage. My laptop, I dropped it on site, so I didn't have Dropbox or OneDrive, so all of that information was gone. You know, I had a lot of LibreOffice files sitting in my bucky. So this is not going to remove Gilbert from site, because Gilbert looks very upset. Gilbert wants to go to site.
No.
How can Gilbert use this and still have fun while looking at issues on site?
You can walk around. So one of the things is that you have something like your Build app. So if you have this on your phone or your tab, you don't necessarily have to look at the contractor's picture. I mean, there's also trust that comes in, and some people want to go to site. So how you can still use it, to actually, while you're on site and not mitigate the idea of going to site, is that you can walk around site with all of your issues open. And even though the contractor can attach an image or not, you can go through back to site and to go to those snags that you've picked up, and you can walk through site, look at your issues in real time and close it out or send it back within real time. Okay. And another thing that I thought about, with Gilbert's question is, yes, we, Nyasha, myself, and Warwick, we all come from industry. And I think one of the most fun things is going to site. I know now and then when I get to go to site, I'm happy again because I'm on site. But sometimes I think we can all agree time gets the better of you. And there's days where you just can't afford to be going to site today. There's so much to be done in the office. So yes, there is ways that you can mitigate going to site. But if you like going to site, yes, by all means, you can still go to site and you can still make use of your app. Your app doesn't become null and void now.
What Gilbert can do is go buy a tablet.
Yep.
And Gilbert, I think but I think the easiest way to look at it is ACC is going to allow you to transition from paper to tablet.
Yeah.
The information stays exactly the same. It's just you have access to it in the accommodating environment within Docs.
Yeah.
And it's real time.
Yeah, and I think we can all agree that mitigating the paper trail is like something we all love. No one likes standing by the printer waiting for like 20 sheets to print, and when it needs to be on site, that's when your printer decides to stop working. So yeah, the paper trail I think is one of the biggest things that ACC offers. It's just the mitigation or the decrease of your paper trail.
Yeah, but I hope we've answered your question. You want to go and carry on?
Yeah, so I just wanted to go through a case study because it's all well and good to talk about these amazing tools and what they can do, but to actually look at a building, one of the most historic buildings in history and one of the largest buildings in history, the Sydney Opera House. So the Sydney Opera House went through a venue improvement plan in 2007. And one of the interesting things is that when they decided to go ahead with this venue improvement plan, they decided to go fully digital with it. In 2007, using Autodesk products. So these products, they may be more advanced now, but there were certain things that they were able to use back then that still help them now. So they use laser scanning. So they use the 4D scanning to actually go in and scan the entire building as it was. And by doing this, they were able to create a 3D model where all of the consultants, from the architects to the mechanical guys to the fire guys, they were able to now look at this building in 3D and evaluate this building. So they were able to see what they could do and couldn't do when it came to the renovation of this. And I think it's so cool because if you look at the Sydney Opera House, it was built in 1957, between 1957 and 1973. This is such an old building, but using digital construction tools that we have in this day and age, they were able to retain the integrity of the building, but still come up with these venue improvement plans. And so the venue improvement plans went on, they managed to add everything that they wanted to add without compromising the integrity of the building. And with that, because they went in and they scanned the building and they basically got a complete digital twin of the building. Up until 2024, this digital twin is being used for the maintenance of the building. With it being such a historic building and with it being a fragile building in the time that it was built, when you have things like your digital twin, instead of going in, breaking stuff, removing stuff to figure out where the problem is, they're locating these problems within the digital twin, and the building is still standing tall. It's still one of the biggest attractions in the world, and it was all done using digital construction.
So I know there's another case study. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Notre Dame that burnt down.
Yeah.
They had zero drawings. The thing was built like, I don't know,
It's ancient.
It's old. It's old. Thing burnt down. Everyone is stressing. But there was one archaeologist that, I don't know what he used, but he managed to capture the site digitally. So he had this whole digital walkthrough. It wasn't 4D scanning. I think it was just photogrammetry.
Yeah.
But he created this model of the Notre Dame church, and he had it online. And using that information, they were able to reinstate Notre Dame church to itself before the fire happened. Now imagine if this clever guy didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Information's gone. There's no way you're going to be able to retain that data, that history back.
Yeah.
And it's finished. So I think these are like super worst case scenarios. But I think essentially it brings it down to better information management.
No, it does.
You know, having access to that information allows the Sydney Opera House to manage, it allows the guys to rebuild, you know, the Notre Dame. It allows construction project managers to have access to information when they need it, how they need it. And I just think it talks back to the value that, you know, these digital tools are bringing to the table. 2007.
2007. And I think it's also like looking at it, people think, oh, digital construction, you know, things are moving to a new age and we're losing like the art of things. But digital construction can be used in these instances where you're not forgetting what was. We're not just completely stamping our foot on everything that was and creating these amazing new skyscrapers. We're using digital construction to better what we already have.
Perfect.
And I think it's important for people to know that, because I know, especially within the industry, people are always afraid that tech is going to take over their jobs. But something and an idea that I like to push is that it's not going to take over your jobs. You just need to learn how to work with it to better yourself within your profession.
I think maybe on that, we can just ask the technical team, let's do another poll if possible. Let's just understand who is actually scared of digital adoption, you know? Is there that actual fear that these tools are going to start like making their jobs not needed? Or is there willingness to look at ACC or other technologies that are able to offer us this BIM standard and actually start looking at adopting it? I think if that's possible, guys, if you can maybe just have a look at that, and then we can quickly talk through it.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I recently went to the PIA InDesign event and I had a conversation with a gentleman, and it was about the same thing, talking about how technology is taking away the art from architecture. And my approach to it was that I don't think it takes away the art from architecture. You're still designing different kind of fears, laziness.
Yeah, but look, let's sort that out.
No problem.
So I don't think that is laziness. Again, this is off the top of my head, but you know, when the guys were busy developing the Wild West, let's look at the frontier in Texas, right? They used what mode of transport? Horses. Okay. Trains became available, then cars, then vehicles. The fact that people are not using horses doesn't mean they're lazy. They've adapted to the times. They've used tools to their disposal to get from A to B a lot quicker, a lot safer. You know, so I don't think it's laziness. I think it's how you perceive it. And if you've got this negative attitude, it's always going to be negative.
It's about using it to your advantage.
100%.
So like I was saying with the gentleman that I was talking to, so he was talking about the art of it. And again, it could come in where Gilbert's talking about laziness. And my approach to it is, no, you still keep the art of it. You still do these hand sketches when it comes to your design phase. But then when it comes to your actual construction and submission phase, you need to get things out. Now it's about your cost management and your time management. And that's where digital tools come in. So it's not about laziness, but it's about effectiveness and efficiency. That would be my...
We're actually starting to get some responses in. So 80% have no fear at all. We have some 20, there's 2 responses. Okay, so it looks like most of the guys are not scared. There is some moderate fear around it. Could we talk through that moderate fear and just see if we can, you know, change someone's mindset around it?
To be honest with you, I wouldn't call it fear. As much as I would, with the consultants that we've been working with, it's more so these guys are, you see, when you're used to when you have a traditional way of doing things, right? it's very difficult for some of these companies to try and start, you know, investing into new technologies and stuff. But to be honest with you, once they do, they start realizing that actually this is the way to go. I mean, look at how when we moved from 2D, when we moved from hand sketches, from hand-drawn drawings to CAD, when we started doing 2D, AutoCAD, all of that. There was a whole lot of pushback now because some of the technology there, people, not everyone was into computers and stuff. You know, they were like, no, I need to relearn all of this. But then the way things move fast, you find when people start actually adapting these things, they realize that no, this is actually very, very efficient. I mean, from drawing with a whole bunch of tracing papers on to just, okay, undo, you know, just something as simple as an undo button changed the industry.
I've actually got a really cool story to tell you guys and everyone that's online. We were doing work with this really old school architect. And he bought into ACC. He loves it. He refuses to use Revit. Absolutely, he does everything pen and paper.
Oh, okay.
And he did some model drawing, pen, paper, ruler, all of the things. He took a photo of it and he uploaded it on ACC for the guys to have a look at. I thought it was brilliant. But I think the biggest risk to business nowadays is status quo. Business as usual. And I think we can start changing the mindset and start making people aware that business as usual is digital. Business as usual is business as usual is digital twins and technologies and stuff. That fear that we see will slowly start going away because then the status quo is the digital transition.
I think it's just fear of the unknown, if you ask me. I mean, how scared was the first caveman who discovered fire? Exactly. And now it's just something that's in our everyday lives, that we use for everyday lives. And so it's just about perspective, and everything that's new eventually becomes normalized.
100%. I see we still haven't changed the minds of 3 participants who are moderately scared. If you guys would like to maybe put some questions in the chat, or if there's something that you want to maybe discuss with us after the session, please let us know. We want to make sure that there's no fear at all. And if we can settle your minds and make you guys more at ease, we would really, really value the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. I think with speaking about that, we can go into the next bit that we wanted to talk about, which was lessons learned.
Perfect.
And hopefully that helps eases everyone's mind who's moderately feared.
I'm going to close the poll on my side here.
So one of the questions that we have with a lot of the firms that decide to go into ACC and migrate to ACC is how would we approach it? Okay. And when you look at something like fear, I think it would be better to actually start small and grow from there. So if you look at the little diagram that we have, you'd start with piloting your project, training and champion, standardizing and scale and integrate. So just to look more into that, start off small, have a pilot project that everyone can go into, you work off, you train off, even if it means taking 2 or 3 people from your firm and getting them used to it. Because again, people are human at the end of the day. We are, I would say, creatures of habit, but once we see what it can do for other people, we quickly want to get into it. So have 2 or 3 people that go into this pilot project. We have a hand raised.
So fear of not needing to research what you are designing and understanding what you're designing. Over to you guys.
Sorry,
I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Fear of not needing to research what you're designing and understanding what you're designing. I'll give it. I don't know. Sorry, man. Are you able just to rephrase, just give us some more information. We'll gladly get back to that now. But back to lessons learned. So identify a small project.
And start off there. Start off small. It's not a project, even if it's just a training testing project, not a project that's going to be detrimental to your firm. And then from there, you can go into training and championing, where you now bring in the rest of your firm. You have your champions who have been working on it that can help. And then you also have people like Modena, who's always there to help. Yeah. And you train and you champion everyone in your firm so that people are now more comfortable with the platform, more confident on the platform. From there, you'd look at standardization, where on ACC, I mean, even on Revit, you have the tool to templatize. And you can do the same with ACC. So now you have standardization across your project. So kickstarting a project doesn't become this huge, daunting, time-consuming thing. It's standardized across all of your projects. And from standardization, you can go into scaling and integrating, where you're now going into larger scale projects and you're integrating with firms outside of your firms, and now you're making use of ACC and BIM collaboration.
But I also think it's worth mentioning, let's just quickly go back, like a title detail.
Like a tile detail.
Gilbert, I do apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's think on that.
I think we'll get back to
Yeah, let's get back to you on that, Gilbert. Maybe let's set up a discussion after the meeting, and we can have actually a proper conversation. But I do think it's worth mentioning that going back to the fear side of things. So this, for me, is daunting. So you're wanting me to pick a pilot project. I don't know who's a champion on my team. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to end. I do think it's very important to note that as Modena, we are digital transformation specialists, and our goal is to be the chosen consultant partner with our clients.
Yeah.
So we will, when the need arises, set up a session with you and the team. Let's get everyone involved. These are completely free. There's no risk. But what we do is we discover, we identify gaps. We offer opportunities with the digital guys, with the technical guys, with the clever guys.
Yeah.
We have those sessions with you, and from that, we then can go back to the drawing board and say, guys, well, let's keep the end in mind, because we always have to do that. Let's keep the end in mind. Where do we want to go? And what does that roadmap look like? Mm-hmm. And we walk through the entire life cycle of that with the clients.
Yeah.
We advise, we assist, we help, we hold hands, we consult.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important that everyone is aware, and I don't want my words to be minced, that we work with our clients from day one. We assist them, we identify opportunities, and we call them discovery sessions. Sit down, have a quick cup of coffee, and let's just chat about you. Where do you guys foresee you guys having issues, and where can we jump in and offer assistance?
Yeah. And although we have this approach that we take, again, like you said, as Modena, we're able to help you go through all of these stages, go through it with you and identify things. And it's important to know that every company is different. So every company's needs are going to be different. So although we have this, which is a standardized process that we would offer, I think it's also important to know that as a company, your workflows and what you do won't be forgotten in everything,
Technical team, if we can maybe just do another poll, sorry, if it is possible. Everyone that's on the webinar now, can we just look at who is currently, actively using, digital tools? Or my laptop died. Yeah. Who is currently using digital tools, and is there guys on the call who would like to set up a discovery session where we can come in and actually just unpack your business and see where the opportunities are? If we can get that poll up, and what we'll do is we'll run the numbers, and then after this webinar, we can definitely make touch and reach out to you guys. But I do think it's important that we can see the number of guys that actually in attendance, if we're using, digital technology in their day-to-day businesses, and versus the guys who aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, don't fear, embrace it. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about, let's just talk about the cost side of things. Let's say in an architectural firm, I have a background in architecture, and I know printing can get very expensive. The back and forth, you've already printed 200 drawings, A0 drawings that you need to, and you find, okay, there's some stuff that needs updating, you still need to reprint. But when it comes to such digital information sharing and stuff like that, you have red line sessions online, you can have them on the platform, you can coordinate, you can do model coordination, class detections, all of that under one platform. I think that's something to look forward to.
Talking about cost as well, this is real world stuff. I was sitting with Fiverr, and this was in the beginning stages when they were looking at this whole digital transition journey, and we were looking at BIM Collaborate Pro. And the question was, why? Going back to status quo, why? Why must I look at it? I think it was about 10 minutes. We looked at a model, we ran the automated clash detection. We saw that there was an HVAC unit running through a downstand beam.
Yeah.
So one of two things can happen. We need to get the guys out to now prop the slab. We need to get, an additional company out to possibly core drill through the downstand beam. There's consulting engineer fees that now need to happen because now we're changing the structural integrity of this beam.
Yeah.
There's carbon fiber strip reinforcement that needs to happen. Plus, we need to go back to the HVAC guys because something might change.
Yeah.
Or we ran the clash detection, saw that there was an issue, picked up the phone, HVAC engineer, we need a bend here, we need a bend there, change it up. And in a matter of 10 minutes, we managed to save just over 100,000.
Yeah.
And there was one session over a quick cup of coffee, and it was by chance that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it just talks about the cost that you mentioned, and that's a small cost.
Yeah.
I don't know what the figures are, and I'm gonna try to convert them into rands. But in EMEA, the average wastage of construction, and this is a total figure, was 1.8 trillion rand.
Sure.
In EMEA. That's 1.8 trillion rand. We got some polls coming in here. So, are you using digital tech in your projects? Yes, for entire projects. Okay, we got 40%. For some of my project management, 40%. Very little, 20%. So, at least there's no responses from that at all.
Yeah.
So everyone is using it. It's just there is opportunity for guys to start using it a little bit more effectively. And I do understand there are pushbacks. Owners will then decide, what tools are used, how they're used, when they're used. And I understand there are cost implications to it. But there's still opportunity for us to maybe sit down with you guys, following this webinar and let's unpack it. Why are you guys using it very little? What are the stumbling blocks standing in your way, to make that very little to some to all? If we could have that opportunity to unpack it and just understand, because the guys have got the products.
It's about
using it and effectively making time to incorporate it into the businesses. I think that's so important.
About using it also its full potential. There's a difference between using a product and actually operating a product.
Yeah.
So it's just about being able to operate your product to its full potential. And I'm sure the guys who are using it for the entire project, they can actually see the difference within their firm.
Yeah. And the guys that are using it, if we could please reach out. I would love to understand the success that you guys are using it. And if we have the opportunity to, let's brag about it. Let's showcase the world what you guys are doing. Success stories are so important because it shows local South African firms working with a local South African partner, on digitizing your project. It's great talking about Sydney Opera House and Notre Dame, but let's talk about the Atcoms. Let's talk about the Tybers. Let's talk about the Spur markets.
Look at the possibilities.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm just conscious of time. We have got 10 minutes left. We did, iron out 1 hour for this. I don't know if we can go to the next slide.
Yeah.
This is the Q&A section with the QR code. So I did ask guys earlier when we started the session, these responses are super critical for us. It allows us to understand where we've done things right, where we've done things wrong, what you would like to see in the future. So I'm going to give everyone 2 or 3 minutes just to quickly scan the QR code. If I could kindly ask everyone to complete the question, send it back to us. If there are requests for meetings or additional information, the technical team behind the scenes will receive the information and it will get sent to the relevant parties by close of business today. For somebody to reach out to you guys early next week. I'll open the floor for Q&A. The Q&A section is available, so please just put it there and we'll gladly go through it and assist. Closing remarks from you guys?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, embrace it.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
I think for me, fear can be exciting. And personally, when I was opened up to this entire world, it was exciting. It's exciting to dive into it. It can be scary, but excitement still lives there when you see all the possibilities.
Brilliant. I see there is a question that came through from Simon. How user-friendly can the program be to client who has less construction knowledge in terms of progress reporting?
Actually, that's one of the most powerful tools that we have on ACC.
Okay.
So pretty much you can run reports for a number of tools, and the most powerful side of things is the filters within the reports. I think it's very easy to operate. ACC basically is, I don't think it's a technical platform. ACC literally, if you could, I mean, Facebook.
Very user-friendly.
It's very, very user-friendly.
Very user-friendly. And also, sorry, just on that, speaking about progress reporting, it's not only like we spoke about issues and snags a lot because that's one of the main problems that you come across on sites. But you can even use ACC, which a lot of our clients use it for just your site diaries. Because, I mean, how many people actually go back and track these pages and pages of site diaries? You can have something like a simple checklist, because again, no one likes going and actually writing out everything that they need to. You can have a checklist loaded onto ACC. Your guys can go on after a day at site, use that template, pull it out, and now it lives on ACC. You can go and you can view it at any time. So in terms of progress tracking, it's not only on the construction site. You can do it within your firm for all of the smaller things.
Simon, reach out, scan the QR code. If there's any additional questions, let us know. We would gladly make contact with you early next week and see if we can maybe unpack that question a little bit more. I don't see any other Q&As coming through. I just want to thank everybody for their time. Enjoy Slipper Day. We are all currently wearing our slippers under the table. If you go onto our LinkedIn page, Lee has put very snazzy photos of us with our slippers. So I wish everyone a blessed Friday further. I do think the weather is going to take a turn. It's going to get a little bit colder. So, you know, I hope everyone just has a fantastic Friday and weekend. Anything else? We're happy to close out.
Happy to close out. Look forward to hearing from everyone.
I really do look forward to hearing from everybody. I'm going to go through the information after this, just with the polls. Oh, there is, no, there's no more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your time, and yeah, have a great one. Ciao.